Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, A Day Spent Indoors, but with Boy. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. That morning began quietly, the kind of quiet that only happens when the world decides to slow down without asking permission. The curtains were still half drawn, letting in a gentle, pale light that rested softly on the floor. I stayed in bed longer than usual, not because I was tired, but because I had nowhere urgent to go. No meetings, no errands, no outside plans. Just one of those rare days where the outside world could wait. Boy noticed immediately. He always did. While I was still wrapped in my blanket, Boy padded across the room, his nails clicking lightly on the floor. He stopped beside the bed, tilted his head, and stared at me with those eyes that always looked curious but calm, as if he was asking, "So, what's the plan today?" I laughed softly. "We're not going out today, Boy." He didn't look disappointed. Instead, his tail wagged once, slow and gentle. To him, the word together mattered more than the word outside. Boy jumped onto the bed without permission, as usual, and curled up beside me. His body was warm, solid, and reassuring. I could feel his breathing match mine, steady and patient. Outside, cars passed and people hurried on with their lives. But inside that room, time felt different. Breakfast was simple. I made coffee. Boy sat politely beside the kitchen counter, watching every movement like it was a performance just for him. He got his bowl, I got my mug, and we sat on the floor together. No rush, no noise, just quiet companionship. Sometimes, a day without leaving the house feels like wasted time. But that morning, with Boy beside me, it felt like a gift I didn't know I needed. As the day moved forward, the house slowly filled with tiny moments. The kind you usually overlook when you're busy running outside, chasing schedules and responsibilities. Boy followed me everywhere. When I cleaned the table, he lay under my feet. When I sat on the couch to scroll mindlessly through my phone, he placed his head on my knee, reminding me, gently, that I was not alone. At one point, I turned on the TV, more for background noise than anything else. Boy reacted instantly. He tilted his head at the sound, then sat upright, staring at the screen like he was trying to understand the story unfolding inside that glowing box. A dog barking on the TV earned a small growl from him, followed by a confused look in my direction, as if asking whether this stranger was a friend or an enemy. I laughed so hard I had to put the phone down. We played with his favorite toy, an old, slightly torn plush that had clearly seen better days. Boy treated it like treasure. Every throw was met with full enthusiasm, even though the living room was small and the distance short. To him, the joy wasn't in how far the toy flew, but in the shared moment of throwing and returning. Later, sunlight streamed through the window and landed perfectly on the floor. Boy found that spot immediately and stretched out like he owned the sun itself. I joined him, sitting nearby, feeling the warmth on my skin. No words were spoken. None were needed. In that quiet afternoon, I realized something important. Happiness doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes, it lies quietly on the floor, breathing beside you. As evening arrived, the house grew even calmer. The sky outside shifted into soft shades of orange and blue, reflected faintly on the walls. I cooked dinner while Boy stayed close, occasionally sniffing the air with interest but never demanding anything. After eating, we returned to the couch. I turned off most of the lights, leaving only a small lamp on. Boy climbed up and settled beside me, his body pressed against my leg. There was something comforting in his weight, like an anchor keeping me present. I thought about how easily days slip away, how often we chase excitement, movement, and noise, believing that life only happens when we're out there doing something big. But Boy didn't need big. He didn't need novelty. He just needed presence. Before bed, I brushed his fur slowly. He closed his eyes, completely trusting, completely at peace. Every stroke felt like a quiet conversation, one about care, patience, and mutual understanding. When we finally lay down to sleep, I realized that although we hadn't stepped outside all day, the day felt full. Full of warmth, full of connection, full of Boy. A day spent indoors with Boy reminded me of something deeply important about modern life. We often confuse movement with meaning. We rush outside, fill our schedules, and chase productivity, forgetting that presence itself is a powerful form of living. Animals, especially dogs like Boy, understand this instinctively. They don't measure the value of a day by how many places they visit, but by who they spend it with. Boy didn't care that we didn't go for a walk or explore new streets. What mattered to him was that we shared the same space, the same calm, the same time. This is a lesson worth carrying into our own lives. Slow down when you can. Pay attention to the small moments. Sit on the floor. Notice the warmth of sunlight. Listen to your pet, to your surroundings, to yourself. Our relationships with animals can teach us empathy, patience, and unconditional presence. When we treat them not as accessories to our lives, but as companions with their own emotions and needs, we create a bond that heals both sides. Sometimes, staying inside doesn't mean missing out. Sometimes, it means finally being there.